Good evening. My name is Lori Carnae. I live at 167 Brenda Court here in Warrenton, and I want to comment on two things, the Amazon issue and on the Heroes Bridge. With respect to Amazon, my only comment is that as a FOIA specialist with the federal government, I'm very well acquainted with the legalities and aspects of the Freedom of Information Act at the federal level. Having said that, with respect to the state level, I find it very interesting that 45 pages are withheld in their entirety. In my experience with the federal government in processing FOIA requests for agency records, for several administrations now, the emphasis has been on transparency and openness. So when I see 45 pages that have been withheld in full, that kind of raises my hair on the neck. So I just think that that's kind of unusual with respect to those 45 pages being withheld in full. With respect to non-disclosure agreement for employees, my experience has been at the federal level, and I say that again, at the federal level, if you're an employee and you're involved in a settlement agreement with your agency and another employee, you're going to have NDAs. But in the course of doing your official work, you're not signing NDAs. So when I'm discussing my work in a lawsuit or something, there's no NDAs involved in that. I'm doing my official work, and it should be available to the public. With respect to Heroes Bridge and the Path Foundation supporting it, I'd just like to ask, are there any members of the Town Council that have any involvement with either Heroes Bridge or the Path Foundation in any capacity? Okay. Thank you, Jay.
I've met with Heroes Bridge many times,
okay,
but not
that's
in
fine.
official capacity.
I'm just asking for the record. As a veteran myself, I don't think it's improper or inappropriate for a veteran to be critical of a housing project or a project to support veterans in our community. However, I think that with respect to the local community here and the residential area, that should be taken into consideration, the needs of these veterans. My understanding from someone is that these are mostly elderly veterans who are, old, blind, deaf, what have you. And I can recall when I first moved here, when my husband and I first moved here in 2004, the big controversy back then was Home Depot and later on a 55-plus community over by that property. And one of the complaints was, well, they won't be taxing our schools, but because they're elderly, they're going to be taxing our EMS services and et cetera. So I hope that's been taken into consideration with respect to putting into our residential area a community that may have exceptional needs of our resources. And with that, I'd like to say thank you for listening to me. Have a good evening.